All right, all right, all right. Good evening, good evening. I learned a new trick. I learned about the brand button on StreamYard, so that's pretty cool. And we're streaming on the small channels, so and we're trying to get this channel bigger. So, um, let me adjust a few things here. That way, we keep the trolls out of here. And please please forgive this impromptu. You know, Sterling's been doing this. I don't know if we'll do this just in case. Sterling's been doing this Church of Wheel. He's been having other drivers take over. Buck Brown did one on gratitude, and Shannon did one on forgiveness. And my topic's going to be a little bit different this time. So let's see. Let's change. Can I change the thumbnail on this? Let's see. Customization. Okay. I don't know why it's not doing. I'm not used to working on this platform, so check this. Let's go to here. All right, here we go. Let's see if I can do the thumbnail. It won't let me do the thumbnail. We'll do the thumbnail later. Okay, so, all right. Anyways, Church of Wheel. I have the thumbnails on my computer, but they're not here, so, oh well. Anyways. No, you start. This is the kitten. He decided he wanted to play piano for a minute. There. Big heavy metal dude with a kitten. He looks pretty happy about this situation. I don't think he is. So, anyways, there he is. What do you got to say? Huh? What do you got to say? All right. He's like, out of here. All right, so, good evening. What we're going to talk about tonight, and we'll get to the comments. Yeah, he's a cute kitten. What's his name? His name is Maximus. Max or Maxie for short. Yeah. We think he was a stray. We're gonna check the neighborhood, make sure that we didn't steal him. And if not, we were foster for a while, for a minute. If he doesn't belong to anybody, then we're gonna do our thing. So I'm used to having this other screen. There's really nothing to show. Like, I'm not showing a low board. I'm not showing a web page. It's just me. It's just little me. I know my background's all blurry. My little separator thing, room thing is damaged right now. I need to fix it. I haven't had a chance to do that. And it feels weird doing this at night because, normally I've got a cup of coffee. We're doing the morning coffee live. We're talking about trucking, which, that's not tonight. We're not talking about trucking tonight. Other than how this could help you if you're a truck driver, whether you're a company or owner op, doesn't matter. This could help you because one of the best things that you can do is to reduce stress, because sometimes we can't change our condition. We can't change our job. We can't change where we live. We can't change how people are acting at Walmart. We can't change any of that. And so one of the best lessons that I try to teach my kids is how to have good stress management skills. Like, I was talking to Sterling today, and I was telling him about how I always thrived in repetitive jobs. Like back when I was working in manufacturing, when I was a welder, I was able to, you're doing 3 welds on 3 pieces of bars, and you got to have 100 of them done by lunch. So you're like, they're like your machine, right? And my mind would wander during these things because it was so automatic. And I mean, I've done, testimonial. I've done a lot. I've written a lot of songs during that time. I wrote a letter that pretty much saved my marriage during one of those times. The creativity during that in that setting was really good. I don't find myself as creative in the truck when I was driving. And I think a lot of that is because the latter part of my driving, I was, we had the smartphones and we had the podcast and we had the Spotify's and satellite radio. And so there wasn't really a chance to get bored, or I was on the headset, talking to somebody for hours on end. So, but anyways, creativity comes from boredom. And, when you go in public and you see these people, giving their kids iPads and their cell phones to distract them, use it like a pacifier, you're not allowing the kid to be bored, because it's through boredom that you get creativity. And it's I was thinking about this, like, what did people do before smartphones? Like, what did we do? What did we do before the MySpaces and the message boards that predated them, before the internet? If you're outside, you might be listening to your Walkman radio. Yes, I just aged myself. But for the most part, you didn't have all these distractions. You didn't have all these things yelling at you. Someone once said that when you wake up and the first thing you do is check your cell phone, it's like someone yelling at you when you first wake up. Now, I grew up with 3 older sisters, and we'll get to the comments here soon. I grew up with 3 older sisters, and this is how they wake me up for school. They would turn the line on and say, "Steven, get up." And that was it. That was, and then like every 5 minutes, they would come in, "Steven, get up." They turn the line on anyway, and that's not the way you want to start your day. And that's literally what you're doing when the first thing you do is check your cell phone. Now, me being a safety manager for the company, I have to do that with one of my phones, but I don't have to do that with both. I look at the notifications, make sure there was nothing on the security cameras, and make sure there was nothing on the ELD, make sure there was no missed calls from a driver, and then that's it. And then I try to kick back. I've become spiritual as of late. I do use an app called, what's it called? YouVersion. It's a Bible app, Bible reading app. And it's got a daily devotion thing. You have a streak, and it's really kind of, the last 2 years I've developed this habit. I do it every morning. I have coffee with God, I guess you could say. And I have my cup of coffee. I'm reading the devotional. I'm doing the prayers, and I'm just before the day starts, right? And that's really kind of grounded me, ever since I've done this carnivore diet, the carnivore trucker, what's up? It's really kind of between the diet change and the spiritual change. It's been like there's this newfound clarity with the diet change, and I can't explain it. Carnivore Trucker can explain it. Shannon can explain it. TJ Jones, if he ever comes in here, he can explain it. There's a certain amount of clarity because, not to get on the food health thing right now, but I will say that when you get rid of the trash, you start feeling better, you start thinking better, and there's some newfound clarity that maybe you didn't have before. And I experienced that firsthand. That is not some woo-woo thing. It's not some conspiracy theory. Try it. Try getting rid of the trash food for 30 days and tell me that you don't feel a difference. And at first, it's going to be uncomfortable. And that's kind of what the first part of this Church of Wheels sermon is going to be about. Is now, if you're not a Christian, no big deal. The things that I'm talking about can apply to anything, because even agnostics and non-Christians are recognizing that something's not right in society, in the world today, and you should pay attention to that, because we all feed off of energy. I remember when COVID and they first started opening the stores, and you went into Walmart and you had to wear your mask, and you can just feel the tension in the air. Whether you believe that the masks were working or not, whether you believe that your rights were being taken away or not. It didn't matter. You felt that tension in the air. And so energy exists. And so what we're going to talk about is if you find yourself depressed, if you find yourself longing for something deeper, number one, look to God. But number two, there's a spiritual realm that you need to pay attention to. And so, but we're going to talk about discomfort first, because discomfort is how we grow. And so for the last, 6 months, 3 months, for the last 2 years, it's hard to determine, but I follow a person named Ryan Mickler. He has a YouTube channel called Order of Man. And it talks about basically male masculinity and sovereignty for men to get their lives back on track, because suicide rates are high in men, and hopefully YouTube just didn't flag me for that. And we've lost our purpose as men, because as kids we were told that we had to behave, we had to shut up, we had to sit down, we had to be caged, and nowadays they give hyperactive boys, and any kids really, the Adderall and all the medication to calm them down, and turns them into zombies. And the next thing you know, the kids grow up full of anxiety, full of fear, and that's where the devil comes in and tells you the lies that you tend to believe. And that's where a lot of depression comes from. A lot of mental illness is caused by these societal norms, like we always had people, if you always had people telling you that your son was too hyperactive, or he didn't behave and he wasn't allowed to do male things, such as running and jumping and exercising and, getting the aggression out, men have, they lose their purpose, and it's a losing of purpose that creates a lot of the problems that you're dealing with. And so what I have tried to do for myself is I need to get uncomfortable. Like there are times when I was too comfortable. And what that does is that make you soft. So when I first got off the road and started working from home, now mind you, I wasn't off the road completely. I still ran my truck every now and then, but I told myself that I needed to create a schedule where I started work at the same time every day, and I was done with work. I set my boundaries. I couldn't live in perpetual Saturday. And perpetual Saturday is bad for you, and that's essentially what COVID did to our kids. It turned a lot of kids that were going to school that couldn't go to school into perpetual Saturdays. And you see, and so the reason why I avoided the perpetual Saturday is because on perpetual Saturday, you don't want to do chores. You don't want to do anything productive. You just want to rest. You just want to relax. You want to sit there and eat the bad food and watch Netflix and get on Facebook and watch the YouTube or TikTok shorts and just, next thing you know, you feel blah, you feel empty, and you don't know why, but so you're getting those dopamine hits. And pretty soon, like any other addiction, those dopamine hits aren't good enough, and that's what pornography does. Pornography, gives you this dopamine hit, and pretty soon the regular stuff doesn't work anymore. You got to get kind of weirder and kinkier, and next thing you know, you're watching some weird stuff because it's the only thing that that get you all riled up. And it's those dopamine receptors. And so the serotonin that you get from being outside and watching a good sunset or listening to some good music, that stuff gets kind of buried, and next thing you know, you're distracted, you've lost your purpose, and boom, you have depression. And you begin to be not creative, and you just keep doing more of the same, and you're in this vicious cycle. And then you watch, these positive YouTube channels where it's toxic positivity. So you sit there and you scroll through Instagram seeing these perfect people doing perfect things in perfect places, and you think that man, they have their stuff together. I am worthless. I'll never achieve that. And that's where the devil's lying to you, saying, you know what? You're never going to achieve that, so don't even try. And next thing you know, it's all about comfort. You want the Netflix, you want the Paramount Plus, you want the Disney, you want the 65-inch TV, like literally 5 feet from your face, and you've got the perfect recliner, and you got the perfect, surround sound, and you don't like going out of the house because you're not comfortable when you're out of the house. You don't like being around people because you're not comfortable around people. Well, when you work from home like I do, me and my wife both work from home, you tend to be in this bubble. Like I have family members that work for Disney World. They don't go out much beyond where they're at other than Ren fairs, because they tour the Ren fairs, and they live in this fantasy bubble. And it's my sister, and she admitted to me while we went up to New York to move my mom's stuff that she didn't realize how certain things have degraded. And so living here at home, working here from home, I was in this bubble. Like, what's the world look like beyond where I live? What's the world look like beyond my neighborhood? I was starting to lose touch with that. And God said, you know what? A friend of yours is going to get married and he wants you there, so you should go to Nevada. Okay. And the purpose was for me to get uncomfortable. The purpose was also to help Sterling and be there for him because he's a good friend. But also it was to get me to be uncomfortable, to get me out of my bubble, to have me see a part of the world I hadn't seen. Like even in the truck, I never went through Nevada. I did California, I did Oregon, Washington, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, Utah, but I never did Nevada. And so I was in a new place, and Sterling and his wife were the only ones I really knew. And then Shannon was there. Shannon Thomas was there, and that helped, because there was some familiarity. But for the most part, the flight, I had to take 4 planes, 2 planes to get there, 2 planes back. The airports were different, because our airport here in Springfield's like 2 terminals, and I was uncomfortable. And I did a video about that on the big channel. I believe it's on the members only page. And it was good for me. It was good for me. It was good for Sterling and his wife. It was good for, to be out there in the elements. To be out in the desert again was kind of nice because I used to live in Phoenix. But the desert is a beautiful place, but it will make you uncomfortable. And so what I found is I'm trying to eliminate a lot of the things that make me soft, that I feel make me soft, like being too comfortable. So I got rid of Netflix. I try to limit my time in the recliner and in the TV. Like today, dispatch was kind of light, so I worked on my desk project here, and that required some movement. And, how I got up to almost 400 pounds was because I got too comfortable. I'd sit there in my truck and I'd buy the Popeyes meal for 2 and just eat almost the whole thing while I'm sitting there watching Netflix on my laptop, and eating my food. And I was so comfortable. The loads were easy at Schneider. I wasn't pressed in time. It was open, drop, and hook. And man, And it 388 pounds, it was time to call it a wrap. I had to get angry. I had to get uncomfortable. And, if you want to be healed, some people don't want to be healed. They wouldn't know what to do if you gave them everything they ever wanted. They wouldn't know what to do with themselves, because now they have to address their emotions. Now they have to address their perspective of things. And they would realize that they don't have a purpose. And so getting a purpose is the number one thing next to gratitude that you can do to change your life, to turn it around. And it could be small steps. And so there are two kingdoms, and this is where the spiritual warfare comes. Several years ago on my big channel, I was talking about, I used to do these morning coffee. They weren't live. Morning coffee videos. Morning coffee thoughts is what I called it. And this was right before the vid started. And I could sense that something was coming. And I had friends that were telling me, prepare for this, that kind of thing. And for the most part, we did some of what our friends have told us. We weren't like total preppers or anything, but we had a pretty decent plan that would sustain us for a minute. And I told everybody that, especially as COVID started to unfold, I told everybody that, you need to work on your mental strength, your physical strength, your financial strength, and your spiritual strength. Well, every other day I try to go live on the big channel talking about how, you can run the spot market but it's all about stress management. The people that are handling the stress the most healthy ways, they're the ones that are succeeding right now in that market. If you're losing your mind over small things, or if you're a very emotional person, you can be easily manipulated, and that's essentially what's happening online. And so there's the kingdom of God and the kingdom of darkness. And, you might be like, I'm a metalhead. I like heavy metal. I listen to a lot of different bands, a lot of secular bands, a lot of satanic bands. The satanic ones, not so much anymore, but most satanic bands are just agnostic people trying to be edgy, trying to be offensive. And they are offensive to the people that can't control their emotions. And I always laughed at the shock rock type bands. I always laughed at the bands that try to have the most gruesome cover, because okay, whatever, dude, And because that stuff didn't affect me. And now, some poor parent, in the record store might freak out. And rightfully so with some of the stuff, but at the same time, that's what they wanted. The best album seller was if you can get that explicit lyric sticker on your album. And because that made everybody want it, because everybody, people think they want to embrace the darkness, and you really don't. And so one of our friends at church, he made a list between the kingdom of God and kingdom of darkness, and the opposites of what happens, right? And then tell me if this doesn't fall into how you feel. And so the kingdom of darkness brings up fear, condemnation, stress, doubt, hate, indifference, disobedience, debauchery, judgment, grudge, vindictive, punishment, and gives false hope. So fear and anxiety. So here's what happens. Anxiety is a voice telling you that you're not good enough, that you're not strong enough, that you're not smart enough, that you're not capable of doing something. If you have a voice inside your head telling you that you're nothing, that's the wrong voice. God will never tell you that. You would never tell yourself that. Right? If you say, "Oh man, I messed up." Okay, that's you, right? But if you hear a voice saying, "Man, I can't believe you screwed that up. You are pathetic." That's not your voice. And you have to recognize when the voices are lying to you, because that is, I'm there's like 3,000 things I want to say at once. I'm not very good at giving clear. That's why I'm not a big YouTuber, because I'm not rehearsed. I say a lot. And I tend to not get my message out clearly. And, with the kingdom of God, you have truth, you have conviction, you have rest, you have hope, you have love, you have obedience, you have purity, empathy, forgiveness, compassionate, mercy, hard truth. Now, again, we can look at this from a secular level. I follow a lot of Nordic bands like Wardruna and Danheim, and I know Carnivore Trucker, he's in here. I like the Odinist ways, that it's basically nature, right? I don't necessarily and I'm not really big into rituals. Even our wedding ceremony, we were just we made it simple. But it doesn't matter what religion you have. There's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. And what brings you fear, what brings you condemnation, what brings you stress, needing to have the latest, the greatest, car or truck, or the latest, greatest cell phone, or, make sure that you keep up with the Joneses on all your streaming platforms like Netflix and Paramount Plus and all that stuff. The video games, that stuff that you can get caught up and get too comfortable, and then when it comes time, when crap hits the fan, you're not going to be able to survive. And that's one of the things I recognize, that if the crap ever does hit the fan, how am I going to survive if I'm not healthy? How am I supposed to keep my wits about me if I'm not mentally healthy? How can I recover from something if I'm not financially healthy? How can I recognize when something is going after my spirit? And it's everywhere. It's in our face. Tell me the point of the beginning of the Olympics. Tell me the point of some of the performances that was at the Grammys this past year, sponsored by Pfizer, big bad, pharma. And when you look at the food system, like what they're putting in our food and how it's making everybody sick, and they're making money off of everybody getting sick, anything from skincare to, that pizza from Domino's, it's all designed for one thing, and it's to make money. It's to get you hooked on these things. You're either going to be hooked on pizza, or you're going to have to, and then eventually you're going to have to get on diabetes medicine, and then eventually you're going to get surgery or chemo. And so you're a cash cow. I've talked about it on this channel. You're a cash cow to these people. They'll spit you up, chew you up, chew you up and spit you out. I always get that mixed up. And you find yourself empty inside. The term comfort food is an evil thing. Like this is how crazy I've gotten, right? I look at a box of donuts as spiritual attack, because think about that. You can be the most honest, religious, most giving, loving person, but you're still ingesting poison that's going to make you diabetic, that's going to make you, have the purple legs, and it's going to make you have to use a stroller, or it's going to make you have to use a cane, or, and you won't be able to run across the street to save a child if you need to, that kind of thing. It still gets you, right? If they can't get you mentally, they're going to get you physically. And that's something that I look at. That's how people are like, how do you stay on this diet? Isn't it boring? You know what? That boring is uncomfortable. And so where there is discomfort, there's growth, because it forces you to change. And when I find myself getting too comfortable for too long, I have to change something, or else it's going to make me weak. That's what's going on in my head. These are the things I've learned in the last 5-10 years. Especially while driving a truck. Now, we drive a truck, and you want the most, like, trucks today are way more comfortable than trucks 30 years ago, 40 years ago, right? Look at the breed of truck driver from then to what you see now. Do you see what I'm saying? Think about that. And I remember, when I rent a car, look, I drive a 22-year-old truck, pickup truck. And I think the newest vehicle that's in this house is a 2013. And so when we rent a car, it's kind of nice. I'm sitting there like, oh, I like having this. I like having 52 12 volts. I like being able to wirelessly charge my phone. I like this big screen with Google everything on it, and and I can just hit everything, and boom, there's my GPS. And man, I like having this moon roof, and man, this automatic, climate change, climate not change, but climate control. Man, this is kind of nice. I could get used to that. And then something's like, this would cost you $600 a month. You would be a slave to this car. Oh, yeah. Okay, never mind. I enjoy it for 3 days, turn it back in. For the cost of one car payment, I get a good vehicle for the weekend. And do that twice a year, you're still not out the same amount of money you would be if you were buying the car. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't go out and buy new cars, whatever, but 11% of Americans can afford a new car right now. So that means the rest of us have to get used to being uncomfortable, not having the latest, greatest, not having the shiniest thing, not having the most luxurious, vehicle. That's probably going to go wrong because sensors and rubber and wires go wrong all the time, right? And that's just one facet. That's how I look at things. If something bad happens, I look at the blessing that it gives, the lessons that it gives. How did I react to this? I could have done that better. I could have done this better. But now I know. Now I've learned. And what you find is, especially if you kind of come up with a more stoic philosophy on life, I remember when, on my flight home, we get on the first plane out of Reno to go, so out of Springfield, there's hardly any direct flights. You're changing flights somewhere. And so this particular route was Denver and then Reno. So on the flight home, it was Reno to Denver and then Denver to Springfield. And I get to the airport 2 hours early. Wasn't busy. Kind of nice. I get on the plane, and we're sitting, and we're sitting, and we're sitting. And I already had a small window to catch my second flight. And now my first flight going to Nevada was delayed by an hour and a half. So I thought, well, maybe I'll get lucky. Well, I didn't. It took them 2 hours to get us going. And so I get to Denver. I don't have a flight. And I'm going to tell you right now, United is worthless when it comes to customer service. I would hit their customer servicing. I would get the circle of death, circle of death, circle of death, just over and over, not knowing if I had to close the app or if the app would stay open when they would call me. None of it. So by some miracle, by some probably, steps of God, I was able to book the flight that I originally avoided because it was too late that one still had seats available. I got on that, but I was sitting there thinking, what do I do? I felt very alone because no one at home can help me. And I guess I could rent a car and drive 600 miles, but that's going to be costly. I've already paid for this flight, right? But luckily they I was able to book that flight and I was good to go, and I checked with the checking people and so now I just had to wander the airport for a minute, and I didn't wander too far. I did eat at John Elway's restaurant, which sucked, to be honest with you. Like, they basically tried to feed me raw hamburger, and I like a rare steak, but hamburger not so much. But I felt very alone. But I needed to experience that. I needed to experience going beyond my bubble. I needed to be uncomfortable, and I was. I went to Nevada with minimal amount of clothes. I didn't want to do the baggage claim thing. I didn't want to do that. It was carry-on only. I had my CPAP with me as well, and I had a system, and my system and planning, and that made things a lot easier. But I never found myself freaking out. I never found myself stressed. I never found myself too angry, because I knew that somehow, some way, I'd get home. I'm a truck driver. I know how to get home. Grab a rental car and hit 70, and we're good to go. But luckily it never came to that. And and LVC, I see the best way to get comfortable, and I'll go through the rest of the comments here, is to do an extended fast. Currently 12 days fasted. Do not be controlled by desires of the flesh. There you go. LVC, right on it, dude. Eating those donuts, eating those candy bars, that is desires of the flesh, just like the other stuff that's more serious, right? Because it's harmful to you. And fasting is such a, I mean, in all religions have some form of fasting, so there's something to it, right? And what a lot of people don't understand is, like, a lot of tribes, they would fast before a big hunt. Why? Because it gave them energy. It gave them energy. It gave them clarity to be able to accomplish the big hunt. And you ever like ate and then you're like tired and kind of you're like, you got this brain fog. I mean, there's think about that. And so and what you find is you bask in the uncomfortableness of fasting. You bask in the, like, don't you get sick of doing hamburgers every day? No, because now I'm enjoying more time doing other things. I'm not stressed out about what am I going to cook today. And it's in the Bible about fasting, 40 days. Jesus fasted for 40 days. And that's when the devil tried to tempt him. He was like, no way, man. I'm paraphrasing there, but there's a big spiritual connection to fasting. And that's the purpose of the keto and the carnivore, is to eventually get to where you're fasting often and you're not affected negatively by it. Because when you're not fat adapted, fasting's a lot harder, but it's still healthy to do, whether you eat a keto diet or not. And you're going to see improvements. It'll improve your mood. It'll improve, and for me, it improved my spirit, because now my fear goes away. Now I'm not condemning myself. And now I have stress, but I'm handling it a lot better. And I'm going by this kingdom of darkness thing, right? I tend to avoid the things that I kind of dislike. I'm not ate up. I'm not hate watching anybody. I try to be obedient. I'm obedient in my marriage. I'm obedient with my family. I'm obedient to work. I'm obedient to God as much as I possibly can, but nobody's perfect, right? Debauchery was something that I've partaked in the past. And and the desire to do that is completely gone. And I'm less judgmental. Whenever a driver calls me and they're stressed out, I don't automatically, oh, they're a freaking idiot. I don't do that. I'm more like, well, let's see why this person's sitting at a truck stop for 3 days, because he can't find a load. There's probably some anxiety going on. There's probably some stress going on. There's probably some stress management issues. There's probably something going on at home, or maybe his truck's giving him problems that he doesn't have faith in it. So, that kind of thing. And I try to come from a place of grace to do that. I recognize other people's discomfort and try to get them through it. And eventually that discomfort of being broke all the time, well, maybe you'll start budgeting. Maybe the discomfort of your truck always falling apart, maybe you'll budget better so you can get your maintenance account better. Maybe that discomfort of being broke will make you move the truck, regardless if the rate makes sense or not. And so you got money coming in now. Maybe stress management will help you with calling brokers and negotiating with them, or going to a customer and negotiating with them. Or maybe you're trying to sign on with a different trucking company and you need to have your act together when you go to the interview. And then grudges. I know people that still hold grudges against me to this day. And they probably can't even remember why. Or it's some made-up story that the devil told them. Their negative voice inside their head told them, this guy is out to get you. This guy lied to you. This guy did this to you. This guy insulted you. And, and vindictive. I don't think I've ever been really vindictive. Maybe in my head. Like, there's a few people I'd probably take a karambit to, but for the most part, that wouldn't be any good, right? That leads to death, right? And then punishment, obviously, and then false hope. We have this term on the YouTubes called hopium. Everybody has hope in their presidential candidate that they're going to fix everything. Well, the debate told me that it's not. Nothing's going to get fixed. It's just going to continue the way they want it to continue. That's how it is. There's nobody coming to save you. There's nobody that's going to make your job better. There's no one that's going to make your house payment get lower. It's all going to come out in the wash. And so you got to take care of yourself. They want you sick. They want you scared. They want you all riled up. And the only way you can grow is if you get uncomfortable. Get rid of that 50-inch TV. Get rid of, or at least stop watching it 16 hours a day or 8 hours a day. I had a TV in my truck. I think I turned it on like 3 times. Now, I did watch the Netflix on my computer, but for the most part, there were a couple of Sunday nights where I just sat there and ate Mountain Dew or ate Doritos while drinking Mountain Dew, watching a football game, living the high life of being in a parking lot. And I can't do any chores because I'm sitting in a truck, so I don't have to feel bad about watching this football game. So when you weightlift, when you work out, what are you doing? You're creating a temporary discomfort so you can become stronger. You're literally ripping fibers of your muscle to make them stronger. If it's in nature, right? Like a squirrel. If the squirrel doesn't collect its food and gets prepared for the winter, what does it do? It suffers, if not dies, in the wintertime. And if it lives through that winter, it says, you know what? I need to do a better job at that. And so if you find yourself lost, if you find yourself feeling like you have no purpose, get uncomfortable. Now, I'm not sitting there burn your house down or leave your whole family behind and on a whim or anything like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what are the things that, like, I think what most people think comfort is actually bad for us, like comfort food. That's not good for you. Sleeping in, that's comfortable, but at the end of the day, it's not better for you. So, I mean, I can think of 100 examples. And what I found, and Dying Breed's in here too. Dying Breed Media, I got to give him a shout out. He was a big component in my early keto transformation. And he's also, I think it's interesting that a lot of people that lose a lot of weight and eat cleaner food become more spiritual. I think that's not a coincidence. And Dying Breed, Mike, man, he's been a good dude. And make sure you follow his I don't know if you do a whole lot of videos, but he does do a lot on Instagram, so make sure you follow him. So anyways, let's go over the comments. You guys have been commenting. Thank you very much. Chief Frey Holler, good evening. Red Lady, good evening. Marty, what's up? Take me to church, baby. I think someone should write a song about that. Thank you for all the Arlington local. Thank you. Not sure what that means. Oh, yeah, the low board stuff. Yeah, you're welcome. Grafton, what's up? Cheap free holler, but what if a troll has a wrench? Well, I hope not. Anyway. Carnivore Truck, what's up, man? How you doing? I know didn't you get off the road as well? Cute Kitten says Red Lady. What's his name? We already said that. Max Shannon, what's up? Guys, Shannon poured her heart out last night, so make sure you go check out her Sterling, Church of Wheel. Sterling, there's the man of the hour right there. Shannon with the pink hand. Blue Chicken says hi to Wife Lord. Red Chicken is sleeping, as well he should, bastard. There he is. There's the big one. Before modern trucks, we drove with the left elbow on the wheel because the left hand was holding the flip phone to our ear, right hand was shifting. I remember trucking before cell phones. Now, I didn't drive back then, but my dad did, and I rode with him. And I remember we got one of the first trucks with air ride suspension. It was like we were on cloud 9, and the seats had air ride in them, and it was like, wow. It was like, this is so amazing. LVC has coffee with dog. Glad you're doing good. I am. Sick bastard, what's up? What's the Memphis market looking like right now? Loads. That will be tomorrow's live feed on the big channel. But Memphis ain't too bad, but you got to understand that the tropical storm is causing some havoc down there right now, so it's kind of messed things up a little bit. Daddy used to say children are to be seen and not heard. I grew up with a sore rear end. Boulder Woods, what's up, man? What's up, TJ? The best way to get uncomfortable is to do an extended fast. Yep, we already mentioned that. I've gone down the rabbit hole of no FAP and not watching porn. It helped me more than I expected. Yes. You don't realize how negative that is, really. And your relationship, if you have one, your relationships will get better. Trust me on this. Well, if you pay upwards of $100K for a truck, it should be nice and comfortable, right? That's true. But then you got that big payment and that check engine light just waiting to pounce on you. So Marty wants a jam session. I did get a new drum pedal, thanks to Sterling. That might be a weekend live feed, maybe for members on the other channel. So I'm trying to get this channel to where I can monetize and have memberships. And that's where the real fun will begin. So make sure we can help me with my watch hours and let's get me up there. So this carnivore journey has elevated me at the same time as humbling my spirit. It's a beautiful adventure, not boring at all. Exactly. Shannon, you're explaining, and people are like, how can you stay on this? I just do, Now, I've had a couple of vegetables here and there. We did go out to eat over the weekend. I avoided the flour and stuff like that, but I did have some vegetables, but for the most part, and I did have some rice, but not much. But for the most part, I've been 98% pretty on it. Like yesterday, all I had was a pound of burger and some eggs. And then I fasted for 25 hours. And then today, all I've eaten is some salmon, some sardines, and 2 eggs. And I'm a little bit hungry now, but I don't really feel like making hamburgers. So I don't know. I'll probably just get to fasting. Electrolytes make it much easier. Yes, that is true. Snorelord bringing the A game today. Thank you, Agco. I appreciate that. Dying Breed, we already said hi to you. Any kind of growth and learning is at least a little uncomfortable. Getting uncomfortable on purpose doesn't guarantee you'll grow or learn, but staying perpetually comfortable guarantees you won't grow or learn anything. There you go. Mrs. A's got it. That's why I said don't burn your house down or purposely make yourself homeless. But at the same time, if you're too comfortable for too long, you're going to become weak. Yep, I'm at work right now doing yard dog at a caterpillar plant. Excellent. Good deal, man. I hope you're enjoying being home. Romans 12:2. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. There you go. And Dying Breed's like original James, King James, right? I'm more of the NLT guy, but my U version is in New King James. So it makes it easier for me to understand, because sometimes, it's hard for me to understand stuff. But anyways, I want to thank everybody for coming in. I want to thank Sterling for allowing me this opportunity to kind of go beyond my comfort zone. I'm not comfortable talking about my relationship with God sometimes on the YouTubes, because, there's so much judgment. Christians are very hated. And a lot of them act like dweebs, and so some, a lot of my friends and a lot of my agnostic friends and a lot of people that I grew up around, they're angry at Christians because of how Christians have treated them. And so it's a big step for me to come out to talk about that, because I know that a lot of people I know will reject me, and at this point, that's not important to me anymore. I'm not worried about what people think, about how I look or how I talk, or, how old I am, or what my job status is, or what my income is. I try to be comfortable in any room, because I'm very, I try to be stoic. Now, I do get affected by things, but if I have an emotion, I'm like, okay, why? Why did that tick me off? Why did that make me fearful? Why did that make me happy? And how could I have handled that better? So, SST, what's up? LVC, some people are doing sardine fast. Fish doesn't spike insulin as much as red meat. That's interesting, because here lately I've been eating, when I eat meat, pork, or chicken, I get tired. Like, I get sleepy. And I know that's the insulin spike. So I didn't feel that today when I ate the fish. So thank you for hosting. You're welcome, Sterling. He who denies the existence of God has some reason for wishing that God did not exist. Augustine. And a lot of people blame God for something that the devil did. we have free will. So we have free will. Just remember that. Red Lady says, thank you for sharing. You're welcome. Don Shonger, I'm late, but I will watch the replay. If you want to see kind of a really cool Christian pastor channel, let me see if I can find the link here. Let me go to YouTube. I'll put the link up. This is Pastor Bob. He's a metal dude. He's got long hair. He's got the goatee. He doesn't look like your typical pastor, but he was a big, prominent, active person in the Christian metal scene. Supporting a lot of Christian metal bands that were getting their ministry to the dark places that most people at church wouldn't want to go to. And I watch his stuff. See if I can get this up. Yep, Sanctuary International. Whoa. Okay. Sorry, something just came up like really loud in my headphones. Let me put that link in there. And then also, let me give you a link to our church. Oops. We finally hit above 30 or 50 subscribers, so I can go live. So Sundays we go live on that. Let me get this there. And if you're ever in Springfield on a Sunday and you want to hang out and go to our church, man, let me know. You park at the TA and I'll pick you up. There you go. So anyways, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And with that being said, I'm going to give you an outro video because I couldn't download Sterling's video. And he taught me a new trick on StreamYard. So here it is. Have a good night. Stay tuned to the big channel tomorrow. I'm going to try to, I think I've got all the trucks booked, so I'll be able to go live first thing in the morning. So with that being said, strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Peace.